What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Two Sisters, One Book. I'm Carla.
And I'm Amanda. We're two sisters, two moms tackling one book at a time.
So we actually read a lot these last three chapters, and I think we should have cut it off at two because of all the information that we had coming in. But it's okay. We're going to talk about all those chapters. If you guys are not technically reading along with us, I highly recommend you read with us because we're going to cover as much as we can, but there are going to be some things we're going to just probably pass over and talk about the main important things. But also letting you guys know, I am in the process of moving. So I am recording in my living room. So I don't have my usual desk, and I'm going to be looking down to take notes. So if you're watching us in the video, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm out of my element, so it feels a little strange.
That's strange, but it'll feel good once you get into the other place, and it'll
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
good.
So, I guess just a quick little fast recap on where we left off last episode is we saw that Daisy and Tarian made their way through the fringe and they started fighting a bunch of creatures. We saw that they were working really well together, and they kind of ended off fighting this almost frog looking guy. And that was kind of crazy.
With his
But
one
yeah,
eyeball.
I know. I was like, okay, well, it is what it is. So, where we kind of start off this episode is we see that Daisy and Tarian come across what we now know to be the briar thorns, which are basically these gigantic vines that are dripping this brownish liquid that will cause smoke when it hits the ground because you don't want to get touched by these things. And we learn that it is clearly very lethal when it comes to humans. But if it touches a fae in small doses, it's not as severe. Now, they will feel a lot of pain and it will really mess with them, but it isn't as lethal to fae. But as to a human, let's just say you don't want to be touched by these little thorns. It's not going to be good. And yeah, so tell me a little bit about what you found interesting in these chapters that we read.
Everything. I loved everything. Okay, so I liked how, if we're gonna skip ahead just a little bit, we get to see more of what's on Tyrion's tattoos, and I feel like they were kind of specific on certain ones. He has 10 rings, so I'm wondering what those are for. I do know the one I think on his shoulder they were talking about is for his court, so that's the obsidian. And then the next chapter, I liked the beast that was chasing after her. So those were
Dark
all the
Red.
fun parts. Yeah, I thought he was hilarious because, Tyrion has his character is kind of funny. So he was like, wait, you were chased by that? You wouldn't be alive right now. And I was like, no, she really, like, I was talking for her, like, no, she really was chased by that thing. And something whispered to her saying to run, stay, do this, be quiet, like all that stuff. So I really enjoyed these 3 chapters.
Yeah, a lot went on these 3 chapters. And I think the first 2, we mostly see them kind of trying to escape these briar vines because we know that for some way or another, these vines were causing Tyrion's powers to be diminished. So they had to get through the old school way, which is crossing right through and just watching your step. Don't touch anything.
Yeah, so I thought it was funny because he's all like, you have to like sidestep. So when he's walking through, I thought a rat-a-tat was running through because something attacked his foot. And then all of a sudden it was a moth thing. And I'm like, I just see our Venomoth from Pokemon like coming out, like blah, all this stuff. And I'm like, they have claws. So was it the same creature that attacked his ankle and stuff? So I just thought it was really funny.
Yeah, I
You're
think it
walking
was.
sideways, don't touch the spiky spikes, and then all of a sudden your feet are getting attacked.
And that's what made him jump into the thorns because it kind of took him off guard. He jumps back and then he ends up kind of getting pricked by this thorn, and it was pretty painful. We know just from like that tiny little prick that he was in some severe pain. Like it says he was clenching his fists. He was like, like shaking, like convulsing. Like it was pretty bad. I can't imagine what that would feel like. I mean, what were your first thoughts when you were hearing about the description of these thorns?
Ow, like how uncomfortable. Like, so if he was feeling like that, I feel like they were producing more than what they probably normally do. But then too, it's like, what would Daisy have felt? Which we kind of do feel, we get to see what she does feel just a little bit. But as a human, it's like, I don't want to go anymore. Figure out a different way. I
Yeah.
don't want to touch that. That's really scary.
I know it's frightening. And she even, because I had that same thought, I was like, why doesn't she just be like, screw this and turn around? Like, you're on your own, Tarian. But he
But
tells
he
her,
did
like,
say, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
if you go back, then I mean, the Celestials are just going to be waiting for you right there. And we do know that every sunrise, they're able to change the course of the fringe. So
So it's Maze Runner.
yeah, yeah. So if they turn around and they try to go back and they don't make it in time before the sunrise, there's a high chance that they are going to be introduced to a whole bunch of new mazes and new things. Because Daisy's like, well, we already took out all of the previous, creatures. So can't we just go back? And he's like, well, if we don't go quickly, things could change. And at the same time, the Celestials are just going to be waiting for us. So really, our only
Yeah.
way forward is forward.
I thought it was interesting too, the way he was like explaining it. I feel like it was more of a prison for these bad creatures because she was mentioning like if celestials don't like to kill life, then why are we here to kill these guys? And he's like, these are the worst of the worst. Like, so I was wondering, like, are they just created by them, or is that like their prison and then they're just stuck there waiting to die?
The way I interpreted it is that it's kind of like their prison. Like we know that these creatures are bad creatures and it sounds like that they deserve to have some type of punishment, but the celestials kind of were like, "You know what? We're just going to put you guys in here to kind of guard, but if you guys end up being kind of killed in the process, then that's fine because it's kind of what
Sucks
was
to
coming
be
to you
you,
anyways." Yeah.
right?
So it almost does seem like a prison for them because Daisy tells him, like, I thought the Celestials don't want to hurt innocent lives. So why would they put these creatures here knowing that we're probably going to take them out anyways? And he's like, well, it's kind of just part of the process, they are going to probably be exterminated, as we know, because that's just what happens, and they're not really all that innocent. But they don't really go into too much
Yeah.
like
They
description on
wanted to keep
why.
the balance. It's like something about keeping the balance of everything.
Yeah,
But I'm
so it makes
just
you
like,
wonder.
what did they do? No, I'm just kidding. I already knew what they did. They're naughty people, naughty creatures.
Well, they're trying to get at Tarian's ankles, and he's like, dude, what the heck, like.
So when you first read it, didn't you imagine like a Rattata running across like a darker Rattata? Like,
I don't know if I pictured a rat-a-tat, but I definitely pictured something small that was scurrying around. Like
oh,
I was
okay.
like, what is this? Like I couldn't, it's like I could kind of picture it in my head, but like I don't know, trying to describe it was difficult. But we know that these vines were not really mature yet because Tarian tries to kind of test them out. Like he sticks his hand in, he's waving it around before they even enter, because it sounds like these vines, when they're matured, they will come out and like grab hold of you, right? Like forcing you um into the thorns. And so these ones, I guess, really weren't that mature yet. So we knew going through the maze that they were going to have other things available to kind of scare them or get Daisy to jump into the vine, because that's their way of taking her out. Is this is kind of their last resort type thing. But I did find it very interesting because I was wondering the same thing. I'm like, well, why did the Celestials even leave open this little path? Like, if they didn't want them to cross, why not create a whole block of vines? Why even allow them way to get through? And Tarian tells her that the reason why is because the amount of celestials you would need to power this type of maze, it requires a lot. And as we know from before, Tarian says that most of the celestials were sent off to be somewhere else. So they didn't have as many celestials there. So this kind of created an opening for them to try to get through. But in normal circumstances, usually you wouldn't even be able to pass through, which I thought was interesting. I'm like, huh. I guess Daisy had the same thought process as me when I was reading it. I'm like, why even allow them to cross?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get to see Tyrion take off his shirt. So the way she was describing him, I was like, oh, maybe I'm a back person too. She was all
I
like,
like
oh, I
it.
think I'm a back person.
Yeah. And then later she's like, wait, nope, I'm a chest person. And then she's like, but I do like a nice rump.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, "You get it, girlfriend." But yeah, because he did, he pushed back from whatever was scratching at his foot. We're gonna call it a rat a tat, and it poked him, so he took off his shirt. And of course, like this is his third time bringing up his shirt because he's all like, "Ugh, I just ruined like another shirt." So we do see he does get rid of his poor shirt because he doesn't want it to carry it or whatever. So we get to see our Fey man shirtless for
I know.
the next few scenes.
Well, and even going back to like talking about his tattoos, like they give a very good description. I know that we kind of talked about it a little earlier where he's got these like 10 rings around. Um, but and then also they do mention that he has like this necklace almost looking tattoo that comes down by his like collarbone. So it makes me wonder because you and I read a lot of these books and we see a lot of tattoos are associated with something in the book. And so when I was reading it for the first time, I was wondering, like, I wonder what this tattoo could be associated with. I mean, we have 10 rings. I started going in my book and I'm like, well, how many kingdoms are there? Like, what's 10? What's significant of 10? Like, I couldn't figure it out. But I was like, this tattoo has to have some type of significance, right? At least you think.
Like all of his tattoos have to have some kind of significant. He has this big old sword on his whole spine of his back. And then he has this
Mm-hmm.
almost duplicate on his chest area too, just a little bit smaller with the 10 rings with his court. So maybe is there 10 kingdoms? Is there 10 realms?
No, there's
Is there 10
well,
gods? Is there 10 demigods? Like
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, there could be
I
such
gotta
an
keep an eye out now.
I know that was kind of my thing was like, okay, so what is 10? Like we see 10 rings. What is that what is that significant? Like what does that signify? Like what are we I don't know. It just makes me want to keep my eyes open for something that could possibly mean that. Um, but even I was looking through and I'm like, well, how many kingdoms are there? And I'm like, well, there's 8 kingdoms. So that doesn't line up. We don't know how many gods there were, right? We don't know how many of the demigods were around. Like there's so many things that it could be. So it does make me think like, okay, we got to keep our eye on, see if we find any 10 unique rings at all as we move forward with the book.
Supersonic. Um,
Supersonic.
uh, but these I feel so bad for them because they really don't get a break. They're like going and they're clearly making it through and everything. And I just found it interesting how they do get to a spot where they're really close, but then I felt like the Celestials might have been getting impatient. So they were like closing the wall, like closing that gap on
Mm-hmm.
them. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, they play dirty. like,
Yeah, they we're gonna smash you. Like you guys are clearly not touching the vines the way we want you to, so we're gonna force you to do it. So they're like, we're gonna enclose the walls. So you have what I pictured it as is you have one wall that isn't moving and the other wall is coming in towards it. And of course, we're like, we'll take a run for it, like go. But Daisy's like, I can't because the faster I run, the more that it's gonna start to get trickier because I can't touch these things.
yeah.
So we see them taking a long time just ducking under certain types of bushes and Daisy has to kind of maneuver Tarian's shoulder so he can get through one way, but then she's pulling back on the other side so he misses the front side. So obviously it's not something that you can just run right through, but they can see the other side ahead of them. So what do we see Tarian do? Our boy Tarian holds the walls open. He holds the walls and he tells her, you run. And I thought that was interesting because Daisy is kind of like his prisoner, right? But yet he is trying to save her. Normally he could have been like, peace out, Daisy. Like, it was fun. Sorry I didn't get to play with you, but like, I gotta go. Like, I'm not gonna get stuck in here. I've got things I have to accomplish. But no, he sticks his arms out. You can see that obviously the thorns are starting to poke him as he's trying to hold the door open, and he tells her to run. So
Yeah.
again, it kind of goes back to what is Daisy to him? Why is and I know we've discussed this. I know we talked about, well, maybe they are mated in some way, but I feel like there's something more to it. Like there's a
I
reason
feel like
Daisy's there.
the longer they're spending together, the more they're both falling for like each other, and they're both starting to appreciate each other more. But I
Mm-hmm.
did like to see he did He did hold the walls for her. And you could tell he was probably getting tired too because he was slipping because the walls were getting narrow again. And she did get poked. And I thought it was interesting because after she got poked, she was kind of in some pain, but then she started hearing voices and she's like, I don't know if it's the poison running through me. And he's just like, run. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? Just please run. Once you're out, we're good.
Yeah.
But the
But it's like,
voices were like, oh, look, one's sick, one's injured, they're tired, we could eat them or something. And I was just like, oh, that's so creepy.
yeah. And you would think, like, at what cost is he willing to protect Daisy? I mean, yeah, they might, if even if they are falling for each other. I mean, do you think that he would risk his saving or trying to do whatever he's trying to do for his kingdom, like to get them to cross over the fringe to get to the other side? Do you think he would risk all that just to save a girl that he may or may not be falling in love with, that he's only
I
known
feel
for like a little bit of time?
I feel like he already did. He already did. Because like once he got crossed, he kind of like a little bit passed out. And then when they got to hit the safe spot or whatever, he was giving her all these images on what to find and where to find it and stuff. And it's like, you're sending her out. Like, yes, you gave her images, but you're trusting her to go out there and bring exactly what you need. Because if not, you're both kind of dead, anyways. So I feel
Yeah.
like he already risked a lot of stuff by saving her. Cause like you said
Mm-hmm.
before, he could have just said, I'm out. I don't need to die. Like I have to look at the bigger picture. But he said,
Mm-hmm.
I need to save Daisy. Like,
Yeah.
and
And
he was worried. So I can't wait to get to that part. So
so, okay, so then going back a little bit, we see that, like you mentioned, Daisy kind of got a little poke. Now, Tarian full on like took most of the brunts, I think, of the thorns, and he does tell her that, like, Faye, usually it'll hurt like hell, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be lethal to us, because as long as it's in small doses. But he clearly took a very heavy dose of these thorns as the wall was closing in, because in order for him to hold the wall open, he's getting pricked all over. And the more it's pushing in on him, the more he's pushing out. So Daisy, as she's trying to crawl through, one of the thorns snags her shirt and drips a little bit of liquid onto her. So her thought was, is this going to be lethal to me just by it touching me, or does it need to get into my bloodstream? Which I thought was a very smart question on Daisy's part, because she's wondering, how much can I get? Like, what are my risks here, right? And we come to find out that just because that touches her skin, it's going to burn and it's going to hurt and it's going to cause her a lot of pain, but it's not lethal. So because it didn't get into her
but
bloodstream.
hold on. But is it
Mm-hmm.
not lethal because she's something other than what she
Ooh,
is?
ooh, that's a good theory. That's a good
Thank you.
theory. I mean,
Thank you.
I guess that could be something that I guess we could pin that up. I mean, that's something to think about. We don't really know yet, do we?
No, but I was just wondering.
Do
I
you
was
like my
hoping you would be
smile?
like, yeah. Jeez.
Well,
I don't, I'm trying to figure out what you're like, oh, like, yes, smile or, oh, no, you're wrong.
you're trying to see what my face is. You're like, what's her poker face here? What's she doing? It's like, well, I there's going to be things, like I
Mhm.
told you in previous episodes. You're going to have some things right, and I'm going to tell you you're going to have some things wrong, just by
Mm.
us talking. So I can tell you that there's going to be some surprises as we get to the end. Um, but yeah, so Daisy, makes her way out, and we find out that once she gets out, as Tarian had said to her, once you leave this maze area, everything should just stop. And as we know, it all disappears. It's almost like it's an illusion. Now, we're talking about these, and I don't know if you want to call them wields or wilds. Like, everybody's going to have a different way to describe what these are. But basically, we're talking about like an enchanted forest, right? Where there's all kinds of crazy creatures, there's all kinds of magic in the air. So when you're working with these wields, we don't really know what's going on. Are these like actual illusions, or are these things that are actually happening and being eliminated with magic? We don't really know. But we do see that Tarian is completely drained. Like, he falls to his knee, he's like out of energy. And Daisy's like, "Can I
But
come to
he's
you?"
so thoughtful. I was just going to say that. He's so thoughtful because he's like, no, I can't have you touching me because the poison's still lingering. He's just such a sweet guy. But he
Yeah,
did
because
tell her no. And
yeah,
then you could tell that she was worried about him too, just by that one scene, because she did want to run back to him. and make sure that he was okay. See, the longer they spend together, the more they're falling for each other. So I
Well,
wonder
and
if
then
someone's going to get a new tattoo somewhere along the line.
like, which book are we talking about here? Are we talking about Quicksilver? Just kidding.
No, like all these books with fairies, once you're mated, you get a new tattoo. You get inked. Or
True.
if you own a bargain, or you get inked, or if you do something, you get inked. So I'm just wondering, like, is there gonna be
Yeah.
a tattoo that pops up on both of them? Or they're like, oh yes, you
Hmm.
guys passed the test. You guys do belong to each other. You work great. Here you go.
Well, that could be something. You never know. But we do know that his eyes are red. His eyes are
Huh?
red.
Oh
I said we
yes, his
do know.
eyes are red.
Yeah, we do know his eyes are red. They're like bloodshot, and just his eyeballs in general are red. And she says, because she asked him about it, she's like, "Why are your
They
eyes
got a
red?" And he's,
heavy dose of poison.
yeah, and it's so other people who may find him, like other fairies or other people from the kingdom or whatever, if for some reason you are unconscious, they can see what state you're in just by looking at your eyes, which I thought was very interesting. It kind of gives them a tell on what's
Yeah.
going on with that person. Yeah, which we find out that red eyes means, heavily poisoned,
Yeah.
not looking good.
Give it like 10 years before our technology is all like, just wear these contacts so we could tell, like a mood ring, so we could tell what state you are in.
Yeah, mood
Because it
eye
is, it's
rings.
it's it's totally like a futuristic thing. I thought was very cool because I was like, oh, like you don't even have to guess. You could just be like, red is this, blue is that, green is this.
Yeah. Well, and it's
Red is
and I,
bad.
yeah, we know red is bad. But we do I think it's interesting that, like, I found it really fascinating how Tarian was able to communicate with her without even talking verbally. I mean, we know he can talk into her mind, but physically showing her these images on how to do something. It's like she's watching, like, the best way I can think of it as is like you and I are watching a video on how to do something. You buy this new stereo system, and then you scan the QR code and it gives you a visual on how to put it together. But this is like that's the best example I could think of. But that's kind of what we're
Oh,
seeing is he's
you want to know my
reflecting into
example
her
for that
eyes.
one?
What?
When I ask you a question and you show me a video on how to do it, like you'll walk me through it by videoing for yourself. You're like, okay, go here, go here. I'm like, oh, that's how I know how you feel, Daisy, because that's what Carla does for me.
Sending you how-to videos. That's like a
Yeah.
how-to video by Tarian. So I wanted to go back really quick because you did mention something, and I'm wondering if it's like a theory you came up with or something you just kind of thought of. You mentioned how she had this brown liquid from the thorns, get onto her, and then all of a sudden she's starting to hear these voices. What were your thoughts on that? I want to hear a little bit more about what you thought of that.
I don't know because I felt like that scene happened so fast because she was thinking, like talking to her, I think Tyrion through her head saying, like, oh, am I hearing voices or is it the poison? I feel like there's something special about her because even he was kind of taken back, like, oh, you could hear these voices, like you're very in tuned and you're very like aware of your surroundings type thing. But see, then it's kind of conflicting because does she only like, is she so special because the gift that Lexi gave her? Or is there just something more to her? Is my thing.
Yeah.
But then you also see that whatever was further down, whatever was in that forest helping her hide from that beast, was that only because it was like playing with her? Because those people are my favorite, by the way, when we get to the rock scene, just I that's great. Or is it because like they wanted to be her friend and they were just like, oh, I'm telling you guys right now, if there's nothing special about Daisy,
You'll be embarrassed. No, I'm just
I'm
kidding.
so embarrassed because I feel like there's just something more to her. I don't know, but then thinking about it now, wouldn't Lexi have felt something if there was something special between her? Or is she just purposely not saying anything to protect her even more because she knows how special she is and people are actually out to kill her? See, I could be going totally off the scene of what the book is even about. Those are just my
Well,
theories.
this is what's so good about the writing of the book is that it takes you in so many different directions that you don't know, am I going in the right direction or am I completely off and none of this is correct? And I think it goes to show like just how good the writing is to make our minds think that maybe this is what's actually happening. I definitely think that there's something special about Daisy. Okay, so one of the things that I also wanted to talk about was a little bit more about the Celestials. So Daisy and Tarian have this conversation a little bit earlier where Daisy kind of asked him why did the Celestials leave? Like, why is there not as many here? And we learned that there's kind of like a political conflict going on in the whole realm of fairy, right? So we have all these other places that are just kind of having differentiating opinions on where the celestials will be most utilized. And it's not just amongst the kingdoms, like the lower kingdoms, because as we know, the celestials are from the diamond kingdom. And it's not just all the other kingdoms like Obsidian Kingdom or Sapphire Kingdom. It's not just all these other ones. It's also a political fight amongst the Diamond Kingdom as well. So amongst the other celestials. And it kind of makes you think like, what is causing this rift? Like we feel like this is kind of becoming more of a political war amongst themselves, almost like a civil war, right? And this could be causing a big destruction for the Celestials and the Diamond Kingdom. Like, could there possibly be kind of an overthrow of the kingdom? We don't know. But I thought that was kind of an interesting thing for them to talk about because we do have this political war going on.
Which then brings back the 10 rings with him. I just feel like everything is kind of connected in with this because she even asks him, like, this is why you're trying to leave and stuff. Is he, like, I want to say the centerpiece to calm everything? Like, he's the one that brings the balance to everything. I feel like something had to have happened that does he not remember something happening? Is that why everything shifted to all this chaos? And how because I feel like he has to be something higher up than just an assassin or just like an errand boy, you know?
So you think he's more than what he's kind of portraying himself to be? Because we know of him as like an assassin. He's also a prisoner to the Obsidian throne, is kind of what he talks about, is being a prisoner to his own people.
Yeah, because he's something special. That is it, like all connected, and they're all like this war. Like, yes, the war is breaking out, but
And could that possibly be why the Obsidian Kingdom wants this chalice to get into the human realms? Because there's so much stuff going on in the realm of fairy that they're like, we have to escape. Maybe there's more reason behind them wanting to leave versus what Daisy might think, where she's like, oh, are they just going to come across to enslave all of us humans because they're stronger and more powerful than us? But maybe are they using it as a way to escape? We don't really know. We just know that, Tarian is kind of in this mission to, I guess, going back to the basics, to get this chalice and bring it back so the Obsidian Kingdom can hop on over that wall and get to the human realms. But I feel like something as simple as that, there has to be so much more involved in there. We just don't know what it is yet.
yeah. And I don't know if this detail has to do with anything, but didn't Tyrion say like the plants are here to keep the humans out because they used to cross over all the time? So then what happened between that time and now? Like, why did they stop? Is it really because of the plants? Like, you think they were just like, oh, I don't want to go there anymore?
To keep the humans away.
Yeah. So I'm just, yeah. See, now there's a lot more questions in my brain that I need answered.
But we also see that Tarian does tell Daisy that the Wields are basically like this enchanted forest, has a lot more beauty involved in it. Like there's a lot more creatures there that is, there's more to it than just being a destruction hall, is what I think he's trying to say. And that his people don't really, kind of linger with lesser fae. So a lot of the people that he's from, like his kingdom, don't really know about these secret places in the Wields because they don't really travel there much. And Daisy's like, well, how do you know about it? And he's like, well, because when I was looking for the chalices, I searched my entire realm to find, and I found these little spaces that were these hidden spots, only to find out that the most powerful chalices were hidden in the human realms. But then we find out that the old gods basically said, we don't want to destroy this power, but we need to hide this power because we need to prevent anybody from using this power against our own kind. So they went, I think it was the high sovereign celestials, and were like, you guys go hide this. So they brought it into the human realm. So it made me think, is this why the Fae Gate exists? To keep the chalices that are the most powerful in the human realms and not allow the anyone from the fairy realms to cross over, because we know of it as the old god said, well, we don't want the humans to become slaves, so we're going to put this wall up. But maybe there was actually more of a different reason behind it. Maybe they were trying to keep these chalices away from the fae, and so they created this wall. Now that they're over there in the human realm, you guys can't get to them, so there's not going to be any destruction used against the fae themselves. Because I think they were probably more worried, not necessarily about the human realms, but maybe worried more about a civil war happening in fairy. So they're like, let's get rid of these chalices so nobody can use this power, and we're going to put up this fae wall to prevent anyone from going across. I don't know. That's just something that came into my mind, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's kind of what I kind of brought back before is there was humans crossing over and then they brought in the plants. Like, did the plants come so that the chalice could stay over there and people like the humans couldn't bring it back? Like, did they tell the humans like, hey, this is what this is? I don't think the demigods or the celestials would have done that. I think they would have just hidden it in plain sight. And then, of course, us are like, oh, look at these antiques. That's so cool. Let's cross over. And they're like, wait a minute, you can't. It needs to stay over there. Like, what are you doing? I feel like that's when we know that the whole plants were planted because I feel like Tarian kind of didn't know when they were planted either, but he just knew that the humans used to cross. So it kind of fits the timeline of when all this stuff got hidden. The wall went
Mm-hmm.
up, the plants went out because it's the only thing that could hurt a human. And I feel like humans, no matter what realm you go into, are very curious. So they're like, oh, look at this shiny, cool rock. Let's take it on our adventure over here, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they probably, I mean, it seems like the old gods were doing like this whole thing of keeping everybody away from each other. They didn't want the humans necessarily crossing into fairylands, and they didn't want the fairylands crossing into the human realms. And the only way that you got safe passage across was if you were doing some type of, like, you got permission to cross for a specific reason. So maybe, and this is just theories I was kind of thinking when I was reading it, is that if a human crossed into the fairy realms, and let's say like a fae was like, hey, if you bring me back this like chalice looking thing, I'll pay you good, right? So the human goes back into the human realms and tries to sneak it across. And this is when the old gods were like, nope, sorry. And that's why they probably put these plants up. I think you are onto something. I think that there is a reason why they are preventing the humans from crossing over and then the fae from crossing over unless there's an absolutely necessary reason. And then that way they can probably monitor it.
Mhm. Yeah, see, it's all coming together.
I know. Let's talk about this monster looking thing with these
Hold
yellow
on. Let's
eyes.
talk about the Wields people first. How they want her to trip
Okay.
over that rock so bad. Okay. So, when was it? Before Tyrion or after Tyrion was in the thing? I don't know. The Wild, I'm going to call them creatures. They like were getting so excited that Daisy was crossing over something that she figured out that there was a rock there. And when she went around it and they seemed sad. All I heard was like little voices going, "Ah, like she didn't fall for it." Like, and then later, when she does get what she needs and she's running and she's finally safe to walk, a rock pops out of nowhere and she trips over it. And then I hear little voices because she's like, there's so much excitement that they're like, she fell for it. Like, you know, like that was
Okay.
just a scene. I really like these little creatures.
So that's what I was going to ask you then. So when you hear about the Wields and these like this magical forest, is that what you're picturing? Are these little creatures who are probably like hiding in the bushes that can like snap their fingers and disappear and then come back, and like, is
Yeah.
that kind of what you're
Like
thinking?
like little fairies, like they're cute little playful like tricksters kind of, and they're just like they get their
Okay.
excitement out of like I don't know, for instance Daisy tripping over this rock, because then she even says like how many stupid people do you deal with, because you seemed very devastated I didn't trip over this rock. So I could just see these little creatures like watching or like whispering to each other, and then like when she said it felt like sadness or something, they're all like, oh, like and all in unison, you know? So you got to like picture it right. Like these little tiny voices going, oh, or yeah, she tripped over the rock. I don't know. I
So
could be
that's
wrong.
so interesting. So this is what I like, because I feel like when we read books, we either have very similar opinions or very opposite opinions. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even think about little like creature things. I think when I first read it, I was just kind of picturing this magical forest seeping voices into her head. It's not it's not like little creatures. It's like one magical forest that can like kind of communicate to her and talk to her. So it's interesting how
Awful
reading
it is,
it
and I'm just making up characters right now.
reading it how we have different opinions. Watch, somebody out there is listening and they're like, did I, flipping through the book, did I miss the little characters? Like they're like, wait, where are these characters? No, but like it's very interesting because I
No.
actually never thought about it from your perspective of like little creatures that could be communicating with her. But we do know that the wheel is something that obviously has, I don't want to say is alive, but has its own personality and is able to
I
kind
feel
of
like it's
communicate with
definitely
Daisy.
alive. I feel like
If
it's
it could be,
alive.
I don't know. But we do see that Daisy makes it with Tarian to like kind of their safety spot, which is like a little, almost like I kind of picture it as like a little cabin.
With one bed,
And
everybody. Just to let you guys know, there's one bed. Are we there yet? No, absolutely not. But there is one bed in there. Tiny. Just wanted to let you guys
one,
know. Something exciting is going to happen probably on the next episode.
we have one
Hopefully.
bed and way too much sexual tension. So I think we can assume something is going to happen, right? But we do see that Tarian has a very difficult time getting in. He kind of falls to the ground. He's not able to like physically talk to her, but he's portraying into her mind, you need to go out, you need to grab the water skins, you need to go to the river, you need to get water, and then I need you to get this specific flower. And this flower is kind of described as almost really beautiful with these beautiful petals. I think they said they were like almost leaf-like looking petals, but he needs this specific flower and he needs 3. And so he kind of shows her how to harvest them and do all that. So she's like, all right. And so she goes to get it. And this goes back to Daisy. I mean, this guy is her capture. This person captured her and forced her into this other realm. She walks out and she sees like all of these like vibrant colors and the way I pictured it is like a pulsing light energy coming from these objects that she's looking at. So it came to my mind as, which vision would Amanda like? This dull, regular looking, vision, or would you prefer more of the colorful vision with all the pulsating colors? And I'll tell you what I
Well,
think.
we all know that the colorful vision is from Tarian, and she has a
Mm-hmm.
very dull world because she even said, like, I just see the world very dull while you see the world in color and you can see like everything. Uh, me, I would like to see the colorful flowers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think I would like the colorful flowers, but I also think I might get distracted too much on the colorfulness because I'm so used to the dull colors that I would be like, "Oh, that's really pretty. Oh no, there's a bear." Like I wouldn't, I would be way too distracted with all the beautiful colors. So I don't know, that's a tough one for
Well,
me.
those weird dog creatures came first.
Mhm.
And I feel like I don't know which order this happened first, but I love how she's always going back to Zorn's voice and how she's like, I feel like talking to Zorn, unless he's like actually trying to communicate with her, trying to find her. I don't know. But even him saying, like, you have to move slow because the flowers needed the petals on them in order for it to work. So don't rush, don't do any of that. So the fact that she was listening, trying to move slow, getting this stuff, she's starting to get surrounded with these dogs and she's like not even doing anything. She's just like watching them. And then I felt like the second she was circling, the dogs like heard something. So their ears were like, boop, hello, peace out. And then they run. And then that's when she saw that big old beast in the background. And it's just
Yeah.
like my world probably would have went from colorful from Tyrion to automatically to gray after that scene. After
Yeah.
I would have seen the bear, I would have been like, oh, my good feeling is gone. Like, this is why I see the world black and white. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. But she sees this like creepy, which we don't really get a lot of description yet on what this we'll call it monster creature is. We just know that it's
We
got like
know
these
he's
big yellow eyes.
huge. And he's huge
Yep.
because she said, I'm just a grain of sand compared to this thing. So I was like, holy cow. And didn't the earth shake when he was like walking? And when he roared, it scared her so bad she was crying. And that's when
Yeah.
our little creature friends, which our forest friend, but I like to think of them as our little creature friends, were like, run faster, move, like you need to get out of here. And then when the creature
Mm-hmm.
was running, I felt like the world was probably shaking too, because she said he was big, but he was so fast. Like,
Yeah. Well, the Wields were
so
trying to protect
yeah,
her. They did you
I
notice how like they sent
know.
boulders down? Like
Yeah.
she knew that the monster creature was coming, and the Wields like took these boulders and were like building a wall between that creature and her. And she's like,
And then they
this
covered
is
her.
yeah, they're like this. She's like, this is a message. Like the forest is like telling me you need to do something, and then it starts to tell her to run, and she's like, well, that's not Tarian's voice, and that's not my voice, and I don't think it's magic. It's not from the poison. So like, what is it? And then all of a sudden, she's like, oh. This isn't any of that because this is the Wield. So this basically telling her to run, and it's like run this way, and she's like, "But Tarian told me to go this way," and they're like, "Nope." So it has her going in a different direction than what Tarian did. And it ended up basically saving her because it kind of took her into a spot where this creature couldn't find her anymore. And you could see that the creature was frustrated because it was like freaking out because originally it did this big giant roar, like you mentioned, and scared the crap out of her. But the Wields end up saving her, and she thought it was interesting that something that seemed to be working against most people, if people who are trying to cross, usually it creates this magical confusion in people and causes issues trying to get from one side of the fringe to the other into the actual land of fairy. But it was actually helping her, which was very interesting. And so when she gets back to Tarian, he's like, what happened? Because he was standing, like he was hurt, but he wanted to come save her. And I thought that was
Because
actually
he
kind of
heard it.
sweet. Like, yeah, he
Because he
heard the big
loves her.
roar. And we know the creature is called a dark rend. So that's what this creature was that was chasing after her. But Tarian's like, what what happened out there? And she's like, well, it was chasing me, this creature. And he's like, there's no way that the dark rend was chasing you. If the dark rend was actually physically coming after you, you would not be here. It would have taken you out. And she's like, well, it was after me. And then she had this realization of, is the flower that I went to get for you to help, like, heal him, could this be a chalice? Because of the way it was shaped, it almost looked like a cup. She's thinking maybe that's what this is. And he goes, I didn't think about it. So maybe the dark rend was after her because she went out and found some chalice, right, through the flowers, and it sensed that, and it almost went into like protective dog mode, right? Because this dark rend
Hmm.
was close to where these flowers were. So was it like a guard dog where it was guarding this and she went and took it? So it was like, I'm coming after you. And then the only way she escaped it is because the Wields basically were like, do this, do that, go this way. So it helped her out when in normal circumstances that probably wouldn't have worked. But Tarian's like, interesting. So it's probably was chasing you because of the chalice, right? So we see more of these chalices coming into play, and I don't know, it was kind of an interesting thought. But I'll be honest with you, when I first read it, I kind of thought there might be a little bit more to this than I realized. So I don't know,
When you
something to think about.
first read it, you thought there was more to it than you realized.
Hmm.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't
All
know,
right.
something to think about. But I guess the last big thing is Daisy notices as she's rubbing the flour mixture on Tarian, because she's using the water from the river to clean his back and to kind of mix it. And then she's putting the flour and the leaves on to help with the burns he got from those thorns, that she notices something in his shoulder. And it's kind of protruding out. It's not ink like she thought it was, but it's kind of dark like ink. And she asks him, like, what is this? Because it's kind of coming out. And he tells her that it's obsidian, which
Yeah.
from
Which we
my
talked about
understanding is like,
earlier. Yeah.
yeah, is like an element. So basically it's coming, It's kind of in his body. So I don't know. Interesting. I wonder what that is, and I wonder why he has it. Is that something that they put in prisoners? Um, is it anybody who's in the Obsidian Kingdom who is a part of the Obsidian Kingdom? Do they all have that in there? I don't know. I guess it's going to be something we're going to have to think about moving forward and see if we notice anything with it.
Okay. I'll be keeping my eye out for it.
But yeah, that was a lot. We did not even cover a lot of the stuff that was in there, but we talked about like some of those key factors. I think, again, to anybody who is listening to us, make sure that you guys are reading the book, just to kind of keep up with some of the things that we're talking about. We're going to go ahead and read chapters 22 and 23. So we're only going to cover 2 chapters on this next episode. We have 25 chapters in total, so we are 4 chapters away from completing the book. However, I will say the last chapter, there is a lot going on, so I don't want to add that all into one. So we're just going to do 2 chapters this time, and then the episode after that we'll do 2 more chapters to close out the book. What did you think, Amanda? Did you like those chapters? I mean,
I'm so
are you
sad.
connecting any dots? Or are you having more questions?
No, a lot of stuff is slowly starting to come together in my head, which is very exciting. I can't wait for the next 4 chapters, which I'm really sad about. But like you said, the second book is already out, so there is no waiting period. I do feel like a Netflix show right now. When you're watching, it's just like you have 2 more episodes left before the season's over, and I'm like, oh, this went by so fast. But no, it's been really fun. Yeah, it's been on my TBR actually for a while, so I'm glad you were able to kickstart it to the top. She did really good. I can't wait to see how this book ends and how the next book begins. I'm really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. I will say it is a good thing that book 2 is out, because pretty much by the time we finish this book, you are going to be like, dang it, now I have to read the next book, because kind of how it ends. So yeah, I'm excited for us to continue on. And then, yeah, is there anything else you want to add before we end this episode?
We do love you guys and we appreciate you guys.
If you're not already, make sure that you subscribe to our podcast if you're listening on Spotify or Apple. We are also on YouTube as well. If you guys can do us a favor and leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening to us on, we would greatly appreciate it. Make sure that if you're watching us on YouTube, you hit the like, because it really helps promote this podcast out to other people. We're having so much fun doing this, and we greatly appreciate all of you who are watching. We have been overwhelmed with the amount of people who have been very supportive, and we just couldn't be more thankful. So if you could just leave us a review, let us know what you guys are thinking and how much you're enjoying our current read. If you guys have any suggestions, we do have already some books lined up for future podcast episodes, but we could always take suggestions for the future. Make sure that you guys are also following us on social media. We are on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And yeah, I guess other than that, we will catch you guys or see you guys on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.